Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Today's Lunch and Learn webinar, we are going to continue the conversation with our experts. We've invited them back for pathways to contracts and service opportunities. I'm Jessica Garrett Modkins, president of Hip Rockstar. We're a full-service creative firm where delivering experiences, telling stories, and delivering strategies converge to build brands that move audiences. I'm honored to be your moderator for today's Lunch and Learn. And on behalf of the Florida Power and Light Company, our proud sponsor, and the Florida Association of Black Chambers of Commerce, our valued partner, we're excited to welcome you to this important conversation. Thank you again for being here, and let's get started. Joining me today is Fisha Major, Jane Dogwillow, and Catherine Sanders. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. And if we could, Fisha, let's start with you. And can you give us a little insight into your background?
Sure. So I'm Fisha Major. I have been with Florida Power and Light since 2021. I've spent my entire tenure here on the supply chain team with the recent shift to navigate our non-employee workforce. Prior to FP&L, I worked in the automotive industry for 8 years.
Thank you, Fisha. Catherine.
I am Catherine Sanders, the Executive Director of the Office of Supplier Development. My background is in procurement. I've been in my current role for 4 months now, but most of my career has been in contract management and procurement with the state of Florida.
Thank you, Catherine. And Jane.
Sure, it's nice to be back again. Thank you for having us. Jane Dogwillow with the Florida Small Business Development Center Network. I've been here since 2011. My background is mainly, though, in procurement and contracting. So this is great to be able to dive a little bit deeper today.
Yes, it really is. And to you, our audience, if you have any questions throughout today's Lunch and Learn, please feel free to drop them. We're live on X, IG, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I wanted to start today's conversation off. It's entitled Pathways to Contracts. What exactly does that entail? What is the pathway to a contract? Fisha, I'm going to start with you.
So in our world, the contract is essentially the final binding piece to our engagements with our external suppliers. So the pathway to get there is all encompassing of soft activities such as meet and greets, all the way through vendor registration, scope of work negotiation and understanding, and then ultimately contract issuance.
And Catherine, how do you define that question? What does that mean in your world?
It definitely means the same, starting with the networking opportunities where you get to connect with the agencies or other organizations, and then just starting your registration process and responding to solicitations and hoping to receive an award for the contract that has been issued by the state of Florida. So similar processes for sure.
Jane, is yours similar? Does it differ at all?
No, it's very similar. And I think, starting with that, the very end point is, getting the contract. And if it's all that preparatory work that you need to do beforehand, I think one of the most important things to do is to understand, whatever it is that you sell, product or service, who's actually purchasing that, and then finding, I guess, a roadmap of how to, networking, the research, where to find the opportunities to actually get to that contract being signed or issued and executed.
That is an excellent point. We need to really talk more about that vendor selection. So when it comes to these specific qualities or factors that play into winning a proposal, what are some things that you can offer to potential companies who are looking to win the big contract?
I'll jump in. So FPL specifically is a bit unique. I think I touched on it in our last session in that we do not have a forward-facing platform for our RFP opportunities. So to get ahead of the curve and be considered for those things, first and foremost, understand FPL, what our mission is, what drives us. We have a host of material outlining our company's standards on our e-web and just on the internet in general. And then in addition to that, ensuring that you are networking properly, make sure you're present in community activities where FP&L might be present, and make sure you're making the proper in-person connections, because those translate very deeply into our internal conversations when we're determining which vendors we'd like to engage. And then once the opportunity is awarded, if it is awarded to you, forgive me, just be sure you're prepared to execute, completely understand the scope of work, be transparent about capabilities, because nothing is worse than being provided the opportunity and then just not being able to follow through.
Mm-hmm. Jane, Catherine?
I definitely will agree. A lot of the phrase that I would always mention to my team is reading is fundamental. Yeah. I cannot stress enough to vendors to read the solicitation for understanding, read the draft contract for understanding, because that is your opportunity to realize or find out if you can actually perform under the contract. So once a contract is executed and you are the awarded vendor, it is definitely the best way for you to just ensure that you understand the expectations so that you can execute the deliverables that are notated within the contract. So reading is fundamental for sure.
Jane, would you like to add any advice?
Sure. I guess I'm just, echoing what's already been said, and they're all great answers. And you're right. It's really going through, all of the deliverables. If you can do that and you can demonstrate how you can do that, I think is really important. You just want to, play up your capabilities, but don't sort of exaggerate greatly because you may not be able to perform under that contract.
And Jane, you mentioned before, as it relates to ensuring the opportunity for networking, you mentioned LinkedIn in our last conversation. People sometimes don't think that that outward appearance on what many consider a social media platform, that it factors in to the decision making. But we've heard here that that's just not true. Can anyone on the panel just expand on that?
I would say, again, LinkedIn's a great, professional networking online channel, and a lot of people, agency personnel do use it. Not everyone, but I think it is one of those avenues that you can definitely explore. You can follow a lot of the agencies. Various areas will have a great, like a regular newsletter link that you can find on LinkedIn, and just connect with those people online. It can't hurt. Everyone's looking to build their professional network, so I would highly recommend doing that.
Definitely.
Okay, Catherine.
I definitely agree. LinkedIn is a great tool for the vendor community. It may not necessarily provide an executed contract, but it definitely is a way to learn more about the agency or organization that you want to do business with, more so because a lot of opportunities can be shared on that platform, and upcoming networking opportunities or events that the vendor can attend can also be shared on LinkedIn. So it's definitely something for you to research and just find more opportunities and information on.
Yeah. And in the case of FP&L, where we don't necessarily have the opportunity for businesses to engage us for service, having a robust LinkedIn page is a really great opportunity to show us what you can do when we're attempting to research companies to indulge. Properly illustrating your capabilities there can go a very long way, in addition to all the notes that Catherine and Jane just provided.
Yeah, I really agree. I've had a number of clients that have reached out for marketing strategies, and they're saying, oh, but we don't really engage on social media. And I understand that. But I said, what about if you used it more as a platform to continue to show your relevance within the industry? What projects are you working on? Not necessarily to ensure that you're keeping up with everything, but just making sure that you're relevant and a part of the conversation. I think that is, in my world, it's a marketing opportunity. It's also a branding opportunity because it is separating you. But I want our viewers to understand how that really plays into your brand's reputation. If you are able to continue to brag about the things that you've been able to accomplish, and also particularly allowing yourself to be an industry expert and speaking on different topics. I think that also plays into the brand's reputation. The other thing I wanted to talk about as it relates to winning the contract, what are some practical ways that small businesses can showcase innovation as an added value when your pricing may not be the lowest in a bid that you have submitted?
Being able to illustrate success historically and using those innovative practices goes a long way. Even if they're small scale projects that you've worked on, if you're able to articulate how you've imposed those practices, how they've been successful, and then articulate how they could be beneficial to us, that will help give a leg up in the award process for sure.
And I always say, just going back to the very fundamentals, how do you demonstrate value? Why you over someone else? What is that little extra? What is your differentiator that, makes you stand out, provides that value that, somebody from the agency or organization would choose you. So, and it doesn't have to be anything huge. It can be, I don't know, your after sales service. You're always able to be contacted, the quality of the work. What is it that you do a little bit different to provide that value added?
Definitely. I think once you have received the contract and it's executed, that is a great opportunity, at least within the first 30 to 90 days, to review the contract and make a list of all the things that you still need additional clarity on. Is the contract manager going to schedule an onboarding meeting? It's your opportunity to make sure the deliverables that you have been awarded in or those categories, that you have a complete understanding. And that way you are able to answer those questions that you as a company have, and possibly just bring forth some thought from the customer for them to communicate, like, we were actually thinking of, going this way about this particular service that you're going to be able to offer. It's your time to also shine and provide those innovative tasks that can change the organization or the agency's direction.
So, Catherine, you mentioned creating a follow-up after receiving the contract. Is that something that you think may even play as a weekly or bi-weekly meeting, almost like a status update where you're meeting with your project manager or whomever you're supposed to report to ensure that the timeline that you've set and the goals that you are supposed to meet are actually happening the way that they would like for them to? So basically, I'm asking, communication is very important. And what are some of the ways that you think is the best way to ensure that you're meeting the objective, the business is meeting the objective of of one of the functions that the agency may have?
I think just that, having those weekly meetings if necessary, biweekly or monthly. I think the more you stay in contact with the agency organization, the contract manager, whoever the point of contact is key, because the last thing you want to do is provide a service and expect to be paid as soon as it's complete, but you haven't delivered that service in the way that it should have, or there are still some expectations that aren't met. There's always a gray area, unfortunately. And so it's just very key that you understand your expectations, your performance expectations, and know what could possibly happen should you not perform in the expected time or in the correct way. So just being a pleasant but positive pest, if you will, to the customer is definitely something that will help you and will not, it will help build upon the relationship versus damage it for sure.
I like that. Anyone else would like to add?
I think, they're great. I like that positive but persistent pest. They're always appreciated. And I think, look, if you suspect, if you're performing on the contract and you're not sure about something, or you're having an issue, communicate that. Don't sort of hope it'll go away and hide it until it blows up. Just, make sure you're in that constant communication and just say, hey, I'm a little bit worried about this, or can you please explain that to me? I think everyone wants you to be successful once you're on that contract, particularly on the agency end. They want to solve whatever problem they're trying to engage you for. So, communicate early and, don't sort of hide or sweep under the carpet even if it's a small issue, because it could snowball. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Fisha, like with a company like yours, and the understanding that you have to be invited in per se, how do you take that opportunity to explore other opportunities within the same organization?
When they're invited in?
Yes, they're already invited in. They're already working with you. How does a business then take advantage of that opportunity to explore other possible opportunities within the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you're invited in, of course, first and foremost, priority is making sure you're executing on the engagement that you have been brought in to provide. But in addition to that, the human piece of networking, communicating, once you have your foot in the door, understand ongoing projects that the company is working on as much as you're permitted to, and attempt to make those additional connections. FP&L likes establishing partnerships and partners, long-standing partners. So if your service or material offering lends itself to other aspects of our business, I have observed our business unit partners being more than willing to assist in making connections across the board, especially if you are executing on the tasks that you've been brought in to work through.
And then as it relates to being an external partner to other contractors, subcontractors, how does that work within each of your different organizations? Jane, I can start with you.
Sure. A lot of the small business clients that we see are, and I'm talking, very small, 1, 2, 3 people maximum on occasion. So they may not, you may not have the capacity to, first of all, initially work on a contract. And we often recommend, investigate subcontracting opportunities, because that's a great way to build some past performance, make a lot of those connections, demonstrate your value and your worth, but in that subcontracting capacity. Alternatively, looking at teaming arrangements with potentially other small businesses. So, small but mighty, with all your capabilities together. So definitely, to be a prime contractor, it might usually take some time, but subcontracting and teaming initially is a great way to explore and start out.
Anyone else?
Um,
Now, okay, go ahead, Fisha.
Sorry. Definitely, I agree with Jane. If you are unable to, serve as a prime, that subcontracting opportunities are definitely how you get your foot in the door. And I have even seen where prime vendors on a contract also serve as a sub on that same contract. So it just kind of speaks to, this company is awarded, but they may not be well versed in whatever particular category, but this other company is. So there are opportunities where across the board.
Have you noticed any trends in new supplier programs or programs that you think that companies may need to become more apt in order to take advantage of opportunities that may be about to present themselves? Are there any that you can think of? No.
From a state level, sorry, Keisha. From a state level, I would say there is, like, the Office of Supplier Development does have a mentor protege program. And so that is definitely something where prime vendors have the opportunity to mentor those small businesses that are looking to grow their business and be successful as those vendors that are serving as mentors. And then it's also just that market research, just researching the different types of contracts that are out there and their expiration dates, and reaching out to those agencies or organizations that can provide more information and guidance on that particular service or product that the company is trying to achieve or gain.
And Catherine, on that mentor protege program piece as well, they're formal programs. They're at the federal level by both Department of Defense and through the Small Business Administration. And as Catherine said, her organization runs, at the state level, the mentor protege programs. And they really are, they can be a great, I say, part of your toolkit in sort of getting to that contract ready state. And you'll find a lot of the mentors just, are really willing. They've been successful. They're really willing to help out others. So that's another great way to investigate, entry to the contracting market. As long as you can demonstrate, your value in the arrangement as well. So you're not just coming in and expect them to do everything for you. You want to learn, and what else can you do to help that mentor protege partnership be successful.
Now, something we didn't touch on. I'm sorry, Fisha, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention that FP&L specifically has a couple of internal programs that we offer to small startup businesses, one of which is 35 Mules, where we literally bring startup companies in-house and incubate them, develop their businesses, and then employ them throughout our enterprise and wherever they want to work. And then in addition to that, we have the FPL Business Cultivator Program, which is more like a mentor program with professionals across our company, some of which have come from external parties. But we bring, again, for a year term, smaller companies in and just mentor them and help them along their way.
Now, that is a great segue, because this is, of course, our second show. Someone may not have seen the first show, which gave the instructions on how to become a registered vendor with your specific organizations. Let's take a little time and just ensure that our viewers understand how they can become a registered vendor.
So for FP&L's purposes, registration is executed once we have identified that we want to work with you, but we do have a supplier portal that's available on our internet where companies can go and register themselves and outline their capabilities. And that is a tool that we use internally in the event that we don't have vendors listed already to work with, that we go and vet to see who else might be in the space that we need.
And where can they find that?
It's on our eWeb. I'll provide a link to it
Okay.
for display, but it's on our website.
Okay. Catherine?
With the state of Florida, we definitely recommend that you register with the Department of State on sunbiz.org, and also within the Department of Management Services, our My Florida Marketplace e-procurement system, we let vendors know to register with that platform so that you can receive bid opportunities. And you will also have the opportunity, should you decide to register your small business as a veteran, woman, or minority-owned business as well, when you are completing that My Florida Marketplace registration.
And Jane?
Sure. And so if you want to get, services, we do provide no-cost one-on-one consulting services. So it's a free service, no-cost service. You can go to either floridasbdc.org or flapexaccelerator.org, and I'll put those links in the chat or the comments. So that's to become one of our clients, and that just means that we have that relationship, and your information is held very confidentially. What we can then do is help you if you're having a little bit of issues. Say, for example, on My Florida Marketplace, we could sit down with you one-on-one with that. Particularly at the federal level, you'll need to get a System for Award Management or SAM.gov registration. That's the only way that you can do business with the federal government, any of the agencies. That can be sometimes a little complex, so we can help you with that. And then also a lot of the local counties and cities and municipalities have their own registration systems. So I know it sounds like a lot, but you can't just do kind of like one sign up and it covers everything. So we can walk you through those processes.
And do any of you see any procurement trends that are emerging within the state and nationally?
Data and analytics is on the up and up. In terms of procurement, our teams around here are standing up data centers and all of the components of those data centers in large scale, left and right, for sure.
Definitely a lot in the IT world, a lot of discussion about AI and how it will be utilized at different organizations. So data tools and productivity tools, a lot of similarities, but differences. So that's definitely prevalent in the state world for sure.
Yeah, I would really echo that. The AI and cybersecurity pieces are extremely important. And particularly from the federal level, we're looking at ensuring, small businesses are part of having a really strong industrial base for the country, with strong supply chain lines and how small businesses can support that. So we do a lot of work in that area.
So as we are wrapping up, I want to ask each of you to provide any closing thoughts and any advice that you can provide to some of our viewers as to an action that they should take this week to strengthen their contract readiness.
I
guess-
Sorry.
No, go for it. You're fine. You're fine.
I definitely would just echo what I said earlier. Reading is fundamental. Make sure you know what you're responding to. Make sure you understand your expectations, and do not be shy about asking questions, because word of mouth is a real thing. If you do a great job, people will hear about it. But if you don't do a great job, people will also remember that. So it's definitely stood, and definitely something I promote. Just read, 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 and you will continue to be successful and be able to grow your business to what you want it to be.
Words of advice that, or parting words of advice that I'll provide are not to get discouraged. I've observed the journey of small businesses being cumbersome sometimes, but there's definitely a market for what you're providing. And then tips to ensure sound, I guess, contractual readiness, be able to articulate your capabilities and what you can do. I find a lot of small businesses understate their track records and what they've done. And when it comes time to discuss how you can be beneficial to FP&L or any larger company, just really being able to hone in on how you have succeeded is helpful.
And I would just say, just as a I guess a parting thought is, and I think we mentioned this on the last webinar, but there's some really great free resources out there. Any government website should not be charging you, like any federal agency should not be charging you for registrations or anything. So just keep that in mind and do some preliminary research. I can't speak highly enough. USAspending.gov, just USAspending.gov, and I'll put it in the chat. You can have a look at all the different commodities that are out there. You can see who's purchasing what, who might your competitors be, which is really important to know, who could be potential, partners that you could team up with. So I really encourage people to spend a couple of hours just looking at the information to get some preliminary research.
Well, I would like to thank all of you for joining us, including you viewers. You didn't have to spend your lunch with us, and we thank you for doing so. We hope that you're leaving with greater clarity and confidence on your path to new contracts and partnerships. To stay informed about future events, visit www.floridablackchambers.com. On Facebook, that's Florida Black Chambers. Coming up, we have empowering minority entrepreneurs, strategies for growth financing and contract success. That will be on October the 2nd in the great city of Fort Lauderdale. We thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.